In 2009, I took this photo of a crab in a plastic cup. Taken in the heart of the Coral Triangle, it became the most popular photo in my library. It's representative of the harsh reality of the single-use plastic pollution problem. And in this episode, we take a look behind the shot. Hey everyone, Noel Guevara here, conservation photographer and filmmaker based in Manila, Philippines. It's day one of our lockdown due to the coronavirus, so I have so much time on my hands to catch up with all the episodes that I have planned. Now, for you guys watching, whoever you are, wherever you are, I sincerely hope that you're well, safe, and sound, and that your family and friends are too. And with that, I welcome you to the first episode of my new show called Behind the Shot. Here, we will take a deep dive into some of my favorite photos in my portfolio and talk about what it took to take them. For this episode, the spotlight is on the cup and crab photo. It's quite timely because I took this photo almost exactly a year ago while on assignment with Greenpeace. So I'll touch on the story behind it, the gear I used, the technique, and how it spread the way it did. In March 2019, I was on assignment with Greenpeace aboard the Rainbow Warrior. The Rainbow Warrior 3 is the flagship of the organization, and it was my second time on that ship. The first one was in March of 2018, and we were working on climate justice, and then again in March of 2019 for Break Free from Plastic. One of my tasks for this assignment was to do a visual brand audit. Greenpeace wanted to pinpoint which companies were responsible for producing the plastic that was polluting our seabeds and our coral reefs. But we wanted to up the ante. We were gonna do the visual audit in the Verde Island Passage, which is considered to be the most biodiverse hotspot in the entire world because it's located at the center of the Coral Triangle. The brand audit consisted of 2 diving days, so I partnered up with a good friend, Boogs Rosales, who is also one of the most talented underwater cameramen that I know. So I was shooting photo and Boogs was filming video. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Boogs for all the underwater video clips that you will see on this episode. You can visit his Instagram and his Vimeo account to see more of his work. So Boogs and I are familiar with Anilao, Batangas area and the Verde Island Passage area. We picked out Caban Cove and Bethlehem as the perfect spots to do the brand audit. I was shooting with the Nikon D850 paired with a Nikkor 16-35 f4 lens. Normally, I'll be using a fisheye when shooting underwater, but in this case, I didn't want that kind of barrel distortion in the set of photos. These were all encased inside the Nauticam aluminum housing with an 8-inch large dome. Normally, I will only bring a 6-inch dome, which is smaller, but because we're using a rectilinear lens, an 8-inch would be more forgiving when it comes to the sharpness in the corners. I also had Nikon Z7 strobe, so I have an option to go ambient light or artificial light. And as usual, I was shooting an aperture priority so that I can focus more on the composition and the art form rather than troubling myself with the intricacies of exposure. It's March 7, 2019 and it's our first dive in Caban Cove. So to observe a proper dive profile, Boogs and I started off deep and made our way up to the shallows. It wasn't very difficult to look for plastic underwater. In fact, it's the exact opposite. We encountered diapers, sachets, plastic packaging, and even noodle wrappers scattered along the seabed and in the corals. In fact, we actually had enough material for the brand audit with just this one dive. As we ran out of air, we made our way closer to shore. So while swimming, I looked up and saw a lot of trash on the surface and decided to focus on that. As I was going through all the plastic bottles, the diapers, and all the other trash, I saw very clearly a cup with the Zagu branding on it. Now, take note, I haven't seen the crab yet inside. It was just a very clear branding on this plastic cup. As I was getting closer, I saw that there was a crab inside, and I immediately recognized that this was a shot that was worth taking. So I took a lot of photos. I took one where it was floating just beneath the surface, one where it was a split shot, one where it was solo, and then another with all the trash around it. But there was just one shot that really stood out. It was the crab inside that cup, perfectly lit, floating just beneath the surface. Taking the shot was not easy though. The winds were very strong and the surface was really choppy. I actually had to deal with severe nausea as we made our way back to the ship. Back on the Rainbow Warrior, I looked through all the photos that I took in Lightroom. I instantly recognized that I had the winner, but I wasn't prepared with the amount of attention that the photo was going to get. Before we move along, I'd like to give thanks and recognize my tight Greenpeace family and crew. So, Angel, Jess, Abby, Boogs, JP, Isko, Yeb, Caps, and Grace. Thanks for having me, and this photo is as much yours as it is mine. On March 12, Greenpeace released the photos, including the cup and crab, to various news outlets and press agencies. Obviously, the first to release were local online news pages, but slowly, online publications around the world picked it up. It appeared first in Singapore, then Chile, Russia, and then France. It was also included in the best photos of the day lists in Guardian and The Telegraph. The photo was then picked up by the BBC and twice by National Geographic. Later on, exhibits such as Alon or Wave featured the photos. And to round it all up, it was included in the best photographs of 2019 and the stories behind them as published by The Guardian on the last day of 2019. It goes without saying that the cup and crab photo became a rallying call or a banner for efforts to reduce single-use plastic waste pollution. It brought the problem home where out of sight, out of mind was the root cause of the problem as a whole. But it also came with its own set of criticism, most of which I wasn't ready for and was entirely new to me back then. First, there was outrage about why I didn't save the crab from inside the cup. Well, the answer to this is very simple. Remember, at this point, my air was very low, and I recognized that if I took the crab out of the cup, I have to take it all the way back down to the seabed to release it safely. Otherwise, if I left it in mid-water, it could easily be predated on, and honestly, it was safer inside the cup. I predict that the cup would have reached the shore in less than 30 minutes, and since the cup was broken up, the crab could have made the jump and onto the shore and back into the sea very easily. Next, they called me for inaction for not picking up all the trash that I saw. Well, if you were a diver, you would know that you have a certain trim, and there was a balance between your buoyancy and the weight that you have. Plus, that wasn't the objective here. The objective was to take photos and do a brand audit. This brings up another point, that taking photos and using them to spread awareness and galvanize people into action is important as the actions themselves. Lastly, there was an accusation that the photo itself was a fake or was Photoshop. But that's the sad reality of it. You don't even need to do that anymore. It's easy to jump into the water and encounter occurrences just as this one. You don't need to fake it. It's that common, and that in itself is the problem that we're trying to highlight. The key takeaway here is actually the message of the photo itself, which is the same message that Greenpeace is trying to communicate. And that is, each and every one of us should distance ourselves from the throwaway mentality. What does that mean? It means that it's no longer even just about plastic anymore, the use and disposal of single use. Whether you use plastic or glass or wood or something that is compostable or biodegradable, it doesn't matter. If you throw it away, it adds to the waste as a whole. So what should you do? First, you should refuse, reduce, upcycle, and in some cases, sure, recycle. Because here's the rub, 91% of all plastic ever produced hasn't been recycled. So it doesn't matter if you dispose of your waste properly or you put it in the right bins. There are no facilities, especially here in the Philippines, to properly and adequately process your waste. So it just ends up in dumps and in the sea. So the key here is to refuse and to reduce, and if you can, reuse. If you want to see more of my work on single-use plastic and marine conservation, please visit my Instagram, Noel Guevara Photo. If you like this video, please consider liking it, subscribing, and hitting that bell. And if you have any inputs or thoughts on single-use plastic and the throwaway mentality culture, add your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the dialogue and discussion going. Cheers guys, it was great having you, and I'll see you in the next video.